Okay, so I am going to do the last philosophical discussion or a discussion of good ideas that I got from the book. And this book is the last book in the Unicorn Chronicles, which is The Last Hunt. I already did it for all the others. I did it for Into the Land of the Unicorns, Son of the Wonder, Dark Whispers. I was planning to do it for this one and for others, but I'm gonna take a break from this extra, which is an extra for me, of the readings for maybe 2 or 3 months, and I'm going to write more because I'm too busy, with job-related stuff and other things. So if I want to be able to finish writing, most likely Project H, which is in my website, authorpedrocristoval.wordpress.com/original stories. So the first one I'm doing is Project H, which is science fiction. I can also do a book of new fables, which are pretty good, really good. So it's basically a collection of short stories that I came up with, and they are really good. They are like the classic ones, like the classic ones that everyone knows about, basically, but they are new. They haven't been done yet. So all that takes a long time, so I'm gonna have to not quit. I'm never gonna quit this because I enjoy this. So I will obviously come back to this and do more of this later on. But I need more time. So I'm gonna have to, basically the other talk I did, a review for the Unicorn Chronicles, and I talk about the story in The Last Hunt. The talk about the story is going to be one of the last I'm going to do this year in 2019. This one is going to be the same, but for the philosophical talks about books. I will definitely do another philosophical talk about a different topic that is not a book I read before the year ends. That's for sure. So yeah, let's get down to it. So I read the whole book, and like always, I mark anything that I found interesting, because when I read, I don't just read to know the story. I also read to see what I can learn from the story, to see what I can, dig out of it, so that I end up knowing more or better off after I read the story. Not just because I know the story, but also because I absorbed all the ideas from it. So, yeah, I marked how many? 24. So 24 ideas from The Last Hunt. There are gonna be some spoilers here, so if you haven't read The Last Hunt, it might be wise to wait until you read it. And then after you read it, definitely come back here and check out this video, because this is gonna be like those extras for video games that make the game way better. It's like that, but for The Last Hunt, and with some touch of philosophical ideas. Makes sense. So number 1, page 36. So let's see. What did I mark there? Only their eyes, made for seeing in the dark, were larger than hers. So they're talking about the Delvers. Delvers could see better in the dark because they had larger eyes. So I wrote a note here, and it says, physical form tells you what they are good at from a physical perspective. So this is very true. Like if you look at a new creature that you haven't seen before, like I'm thinking science fiction because that's something that I have stories that I can write, so I think about that a lot. So if you have a new creature that has wings, you don't need to be a genius to figure out that this creature can fly. And you cannot fly because you obviously don't have that physical form that allows you to do that. So when you look at the physical form of a new animal, of a new being that you have never seen before, the first thing that you should try to figure out is, from this physical form, what can this creature do that you cannot do? If you see wings, they can fly. But it's not just something obvious like the wings. If you see something like if you see they are like a creature that looks like fish, that is very like a sword basically, very thin and long, and the legs and everything are very very close together. That would be an animal that is good for swimming, or at least it has an advantage in swimming over a human, for example. So you can know a lot about what an animal can do, what a creature can do, based on their physical form. Even us people, we are restricted for certain things because of the way we are physically. But if it was a different physical form, then perhaps those restrictions will not be there anymore. So that's definitely a good idea for science fiction stuff. The change of physical forms and how that changes everything else. Or at the very least, it changes some core things that you cannot do unless you change that. So that's number one. Number two, page 135. You can tell that I like talking a lot, and I like thought-provoking talks, good talks. Let's see what we have in page 135. What I marked there: you never knew when such things might come in handy. Anything you learn can be useful. Yeah, anything you learn can be useful. Anything you learn can be useful, and I have realized that in many things, and not only in academics but also in sports. When you learn one sport pretty well and you get good at it, and then you go and train other sports, you're going to realize that there's something, at least one thing, there's something that is going to help you from that sport that you learn very well in the new one. For some of them, the something is even crucial. Like for example, in baseball, you have to do pronation. The movement, pronation, throw the ball. This movement. And in tennis, it turns out that you also need to do that movement for the serve. Basically, it's not the same thing as throwing the ball in baseball, but the movement, it's the same movement basically. So if you know how to do it in one of the two, and then you go to the other one, even if you have never played the other sport in your life, you already have an advantage because you're used to that movement, and you only need to tweak it a little, change it a little, and you already have the way to do the ball throw or the tennis serve basically. And it's not just like that. It's not just that one example. It happens everywhere, and it happens with many things. This is a very good example. Yeah, like I realized that being able to write well actually helped me for a class that I had where they had to write mathematical proofs, and I never had any problem with writing because I was already good at writing. So I just had to learn the new stuff for the mathematical proofs. Because the writing, I already had that. I already knew how to write well. And I noticed that there were other people that maybe they were better than me in math, in the actual proof. But they were not good at writing. So when you saw the proof, it didn't seem like it was very good because the writing itself was bad, not because the logic was bad. So it's you don't notice it at first, but anything you learn can help you to learn something else later on, especially if it is in the same major field. Like if it is something academic, that something academic can help you to learn something else which is academic as well, but that you didn't know. If it is a sport, that sport is going to help you to learn another sport later on. Even if they seem a little different, you're going to see that just the athleticism that you gain from the first sport is going to transfer to the other and help you, even if it is not the same, doesn't matter. Like before I went into tennis, I already knew how to play some racquetball. I wasn't that good at racquetball yet, but I was much better at racquetball than at tennis. and that also helped me a lot. So yeah, you never know. So when you learn something, don't think that it is wasted, because it really can help you later on with another skill, or even with another situation. You never know. Okay, so let's go to number 3, page 165. More knowledge of the tactics and strategies used in great battles will be useful at this moment. Let me read to you what I wrote here. Or in great books, or in great tennis matches, or in anything, learn from the previous gifted performers. So yeah, let's say you're learning something new. Let's say you are, it doesn't matter what it is, it can be anything. If it is something, is some kind of topic or some field that already had people that did amazing things in it, and you have access to what those people did and to how they did it, or you can buy it maybe, if it is a book. If it is an athlete that had amazing performance, maybe there are videos of the matches, and you can watch them and see the strategies that this athlete followed. So if you want to be great at something, doesn't matter what it is, it can be anything, it is in your best interest to develop your own style and to grow into being amazing in your own style. But it will help you a lot if you can also get tips and advice from other people that already did great things in that topic or in that field or in that activity. It is in your best interest, basically. So don't do it to copy them. That's not going to work well because you have a different style. But do it to help you in the growth of your own learning and your own style. It will help you to get better, even if you're different. Doesn't matter, because these are people that already reached the peak in that activity that you want to get better at. So it's simply wise to see what they did and see how they did it, and learn why their success is considered great in that activity or in that field, so that you can understand if you're up to the level, if you can reach that level or not. So what else? Okay, that's it for that one. Number 4. By the way, all these things, some of them I will mention the story of the book because it's probably a good example right there. But these things are not really, I took them from something that I read in the book, from a quote that I marked in the book. But these things, which is what I call this philosophical talk, are just good ideas or interesting ideas for life or about life. So I think these are useful ideas. I find them useful for me. I know they will be useful for other people. So that's the real reason why I put them together, and then at the end I just make this video and share them. Let's see, 218, and I put a star here, so that means that this should be a good idea then. What good will the tyranny do you if our word itself is lost? So there's this centaur in the story that is going to become the king of the centaurs. So obviously it's going to have a lot more power, a lot more influence, many more things at his disposal, because he is going to become the king of all the centaurs in that land. However, the land was falling apart because of the events in the story. It was, dying, breaking, ending. So here's the thing. What good is going to do you to earn all that? And okay, I have to make a stop, so let's continue. So I was at, okay, what good is it going to do you to be the king in the realm, or one of the kings in the realm, not the only one, if the realm itself is falling apart? That basically there are things that are more important than being the king or anything like that. There are things that make a bigger difference. They matter more for happiness, even for achievement. Yeah, even for achievement. So, okay, let me read to you what I wrote here. Make a balance. A great reward is not worth it if it jeopardizes your happiness or all the other things that you care about. There you have it. It really depends. The reward, how great the reward is, will always depend on the impact that it has on your well-being and your happiness. If the reward feels great, but it destroys your well-being and your happiness, it probably isn't worth it. So, that's it for that one. Page 225 is the next one. So 225. Okay. So I see 2 stars, so it's probably good. Oh, I see. I know which one this is. Okay, so I'm going to read you the text, the quote from the book, and then the note that I wrote for it. Once you have been a dragon, it is very hard to be mermaiden once again. So I was at first relieved to be back in my own skin. I soon found myself longing for the strength and power I had possessed when I was a dragon. So, and the note, after you level up, this is what I wrote. This is not from the book. This is what I wrote. After you level up, you don't want to level down or go back down to the way you were before or to what you had before. You want to stay leveled up, and you only want to go up another level and up another level. No one wants to go back down a level after they reached and experienced everything from the next level, basically. So something that I've realized, which is true about me, after when it comes to writing stories, after you come up with a few really great stories and you write the first one, you can come back. You're already someone that likes writing great stories, and basically you keep coming up with them and you keep writing stories, and when you level up as a writer, you don't come back down. I don't think you can, actually. You're already at that level, so you cannot come back down. I think that the more common example where people can come back down is in material things, in what they own. Like someone who's rich, and maybe they lose, like half the money and they're not rich anymore, that kind of thing. But when it comes to intellectual stuff and abilities, you can't come back down. It's, I don't know, unless the guy suffers amnesia or something like that. But even then, I feel like the ability, like if you learn to play sport really well, you cannot level down. You can only level up a little bit more. And the same thing, exactly the same thing. Let me change this because I don't see anything like this. Okay. Yeah, better. So there is no coming back. And if you're taken back, a step back or many steps back, after that level up, I don't think that people are ready for that, by the way. It's the reason why many people, go crazy or something like that, when they are like here at the top and they go down to the bottom. It's also the reason why I think it's better to appreciate the level ups. If you truly begin leveling up when you were at the very, very bottom. Because if you begin leveling up and you are already here, you don't appreciate it as much because you didn't have to work as hard to get that high. But if you began from here, from the bottom, you know how difficult it was because you had to go, little by little, little by little, little by little, little by little. So it's something. It works that way basically, and it is very hard to go a little down. You cannot even go back a little down if it is something like a skill. If you already know how to ride a bike very well, you will continue knowing how to ride a bike very well. So what you can do is learn to do it better. But you're not going to forget how to ride a bike. And that was something that I also experienced. I had not ridden a bike in like 10 years. And one day I went out with my uncle and other people, and they all were like in running a few miles and biking and all that. And they gave me a bike, and the first thing I thought was, oh, let's see if I don't kill myself in this bike. Because I haven't touched one in like 10 years. And it was okay, I did it well. Why? Because I already knew how to ride a bike. I learned it when I was a kid many years ago. So you cannot go back a level down. But there are other aspects in life where you can go back a level down, and if people are not ready for it psychologically and emotionally, they're going to depressions and all that. And I understand that. We're talking about things like jobs, like riches, like accomplishments, like fame, like that kind of thing. That kind of thing can go up and down like a roller coaster. How well you're doing if you have a business, in your business, that can go up and down. If you're always up, you know what you're doing. You're doing things right. But for most people, there are ups and downs. And the people that are not ready, they're not going to take it well. Because we after we level up, our mind is already there. Even if you take it back down, one level down, we're already at that level. So it's difficult to make that change. Okay, so I really like this topic, so obviously I stop and talk way more about it, but I do find that one interesting. This one will have been good for like just a single video. So let's see what we have for the next one. So the next one is 234, page 234. It was as if the word loved me back, for my health quickly returned, and I felt, if anything, stronger than ever. Okay, so that is number. So yeah, that is a great feeling. That is a great feeling when you accomplish something at a time when you were alone, when you didn't have the help of anyone else. It feels like that. It feels as if, almost as if the word love you back, and you feel, successful. You feel like you have achieved something great because you did it alone, without anyone's help. So it almost feels as if the word gave you a gift. And I have felt like that with the stories that I can write. There are some of them that came to me out of nowhere. I didn't sit down and say, okay, let's come up with a new series now. Let's come up with a new fable. Let's come up with a new book. I didn't do that. And there were some of them, as many as half of them, that just came to me out of nowhere. And I felt very lucky. I felt special when I realized that. I've also felt the same way when I managed, after a lot of work and sacrifice, to achieve something, like getting better at sport. That definitely falls in there. That's why I sympathize so much with beginners that don't even know how to hit the ball. Like when I go to play racquetball now or tennis, I am much better. I already know how to hit the ball, obviously. But when I see a beginner, I remember myself, because I was also at a point where I didn't even know how to hit the ball correctly. And if you manage to take that step beyond and you get it and you learn it and you know it because of your own sacrifice, it's the kind of happiness and achievement and inner achievement, personal achievement, that nothing else gives you that. It's you don't get that from anywhere else. You can have a happy relationship, you can have a great family, you can have a successful job or a successful business, you can have money, you can have all of that. And if you got into golf right now, for example, and you finally figured out how to, deliver the great shot, and it's a new happiness that you get, and you're gonna get it. Doesn't matter if you had the relationship or didn't have the relationship, if you had the family, if you didn't have the family, if you had the money and the success or had no money and no success. It's one of those things that it really feels, as basically as if the world was congratulating you because of what you achieved, and you feel that self improvement, and it's a great feeling to have. Okay, another stop. But we keep going now. So, where did I leave it? Okay, so we go to number 7. Page 237. It was already there. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see which one it was. So this is talking about the centaur woman in the last hunt. So, and what of her? Why could she not surrender to love and stay with Arkan? Was it really only her sense of duty that was calling her to abandon the safety of their home? Or was she, too, following another wish, a long-held desire to see the world that lay beyond the valley? So this is something that reminded me, of something that exists in everyone, but there are people that feel it stronger than others. Basically, let me read you what I wrote here in my note. I believe we all have some sort of personal potential that we need to fulfill. And fulfilling it is one of the ways in which we can be very happy. So basically, happiness has many forms, and fulfilling our persona's potential is one of them. And when I say persona, I'm not talking about the games. I'm talking about you, the unique you that you are, the unique person that you are, has potential. Everyone has potential. And there may be something that you can do that perhaps no one else can do. And if you know that that is the case, and if you have some kind of gift that makes that the case, then fulfilling that potential that you have, that unique potential, is something that will give you happiness. And it is one of the forms to be happy. There are many ways to be happy. Obviously, relationships is one of them. If they are good, if it is a good relationship, it can make you happy. Same for family. If it is a good family, a caring family, a loving family, it can make you happy. But we also have, personal wishes, personal goals, things that we want to achieve, or things that we can achieve if you have some sort of gift. It doesn't matter what the gift is. It can be a gift in any field. It can be something academic, it can be in sports, it can be anywhere. So fulfilling it, I feel it's one of the forms or one of the ways that can make anyone, doesn't matter who you are, anyone can be made happier if they fulfill that inner or personal potential that they have. That's it for that one. So we're gonna see what I have in storage for number 8 in page 267. So let's see. Because I have returned with the dragon stones. That's a question. His teacher chuckled. No? So I am glad to have then. I am pleased because I can tell that you have learned what I really sent you into the world to discover. So I think that's talking about Namsa. So Namsa came back with the dragon stones for his teacher, who was apparently a very wise and old teacher. And then the Namsa thought that he had completed his task or been successful because he brought the stones. But the teacher knew that what he went through in order to get those stones and in order to bring back those stones, being able to go through all that was what made the guy successful. So it wasn't getting the stones, but it was being able to go through all that process. And for example, Olympic athletes, an Olympic athlete that win a gold medal, do you think that the medal itself is the grand prize and the grand achievement? Well, obviously they're gonna like winning it. But the grand prize and the grand achievement is all the things that they went through and seen that those things are what led them to get the medal. The medal itself is just here, like take the paper. Take the paper, you got a medal. Or take a paper, you got a degree. It's not about a medal, it's not about a paper. It is about what you learn, how much you grew during that process, and how are you a better person now because of that process. Okay, so that's it for that one. Number 9 is on page 269. Okay, so let me see where it is. I know you hate them, but you do not have to, and your spirit will be easier when you stop. Okay. And I also wrote, that's what I read there is what the book has, the quote. What I wrote is, the most efficient way to real happiness is to eliminate all the negative things from your life and surround yourself with good and positive things and feelings and emotions only. So, you know, there are many things that you may hate, or people that didn't do you, didn't do good things for you as you expected that they would. You don't fix anything by keeping all that hate with you and all those negative emotions. What you need to do is, if those people that didn't do good things for you are still in your life, remove them. If those negative emotions are there, you need to replace them with new ones, which are good. You basically have to, remove the hate from around your life, from around yourself, and put yourself in a position, in a place, and with people that bring you new, happy emotions, better emotions, and that's the key to being happy. The key to being happy is being in a place where you can feel your mind, your heart, you can feel harmony. There's no way to feel harmony if there's a lot of hate, and a lot of fights, and a lot of problems, and a lot of, So if the problems are being brought by people, you need new people in your life. If the problems are being brought, or the hate, or the negative emotions, by certain activities, well, you need to get new hobbies, or new activities, or something else. Who knows? If it is a job, you probably need a new job, or a different workplace. It can be the same job at a different workplace that is positive, that is good for you. So yeah, that's it. I think one of the best ways to truly bring happiness into your life is slowly remove all the bad. Remove it. Not just put it there to look at it another day, but remove it completely. And bring in new things, new people, new places, new whatever it is, which is positive, which is happy for you. That's the way to go if you want be content and happy with the way things are going in your life. Regardless of whether you're successful in other aspects or not, if you really want to be happy, success is not the only thing that's going to give you that. You need harmony. You need harmony to be happy in your life. At least that's the way I feel, though. That's the way it is for me. So number 10. Number 10 is in page 270. But love makes fools of us all, even those of us among the great powers. Okay, so basically, you will know this if you have read the book. I'm supposing that the people that are watching the philosophical video about the book The Last Hunt, which is the last book in the Unicorn Chronicles, probably know about the book or read it or something like that. So basically they have some beings in this book that are sort of like, not like gods, but they are like in between people and gods. They are superior but not at a godly level. And these beings are affected by love, by hate, by many things, by all those emotions. And this is a pretty good idea for science fiction, by the way. This is a pretty good idea for fiction stories in general, but I tend to think about it from the science fiction perspective because that's what I'm thinking about. That's a story that I'm doing right now, which is the one that is named Project H. So I think more of it in that in that realm, basically. But it's something that feels very truthful. Like even if you have beings that are superior, if they have similar dynamics of community and culture, they most likely also have these similar emotions. Like let me read to you what I wrote here. Love is likely to exist, and it truly works in very similar ways, even for a more advanced species than us. If they have similar dynamics, it doesn't matter if the body or the civilization is more advanced. It's very likely that there's still love, there's still hate, there's still problems, there's still all those positive and negative emotions, even if you look at them from another class, they are superior. So, don't think that because there's more power, another species cannot be affected in the same way as us by the emotions. The emotions most likely, it's something that transcends many things, even whether it is an intelligent species or not, whether it is an intelligent species or not. Because if you think about it, animals like dogs, they obviously have feelings. You don't think about it. If you don't think about it, you haven't known a lot of animals like that. But I have seen several dogs, and you can tell that they have feelings, and they can feel happy, and they can feel mad, and they can feel love, and they can feel maybe even hate. If it is someone that never treats them right, the dog or the cat is probably going to hate that person. So those same emotions, they are in us. It seems like they're more advanced because we're more intelligent, but the emotions are probably very similar, almost the same. And they can be at a higher level as well. And that is a great idea for fiction. I think it is a great idea for fiction, for sure. And I don't think that anyone has read that, to be honest, but I already used that idea in The Matrix Revelations, which is a fan fiction series that I wrote, which is also a fourth movie for the Matrix saga, which is, by the way, it is in my website, autopedrocristóbal.wordpress.com/fanfiction series, The Matrix Revelations. That one is already finished. It was the first story that I managed to finish. It wasn't perfect, it is not perfect. As you can imagine, the first story that anyone writes It's not going to be perfect because we get better the more we write. But it was a great science fiction story. And obviously, anyone that watched the first 3 movies for The Matrix is gonna like seeing what I came up with for the fourth. So I already used that idea in there. But you see, that idea was also in these books. So there are many authors. Now, this reminds me of the saying that says, like, I don't know if it was similar minds think alike or great minds think alike. When you think of authors, there are many great ideas that occurred in different people that wrote different books. And even though their stories are very different and we are very different people, the ideas are the same. For example, this idea that there is, some beings that are superior or that they are more powerful at least, but they are also led by many of our same emotions. This is not a new idea. A lot of authors have already developed that idea. I use that idea. I see that the idea is used here in the last book of the Unicorn Chronicles, and I think it's a great idea, and it will be used again for sure. So all the people will come up with it again, and new stories will use it. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Next one is number 11. Okay, 293. So page 293. Part of the trick she realized was to not think about it too much and just let her body do the work. So yeah, I know what they were talking about here. I can tell what the author was thinking when he wrote that sentence. So look at what I thought when I read that. Motor skills, the skills that are based on mastering a special kind of movement to be able to perform that well, or to deal with it. I have found too that it helps a lot to not think too much and to let the body follow the natural path of motion for that activity or for that skill. And when you do that, it helps you a lot to get better at it. So if you're practicing something that is based on a movement to do well at that activity. So for example, tennis. You have to do the forehand and the backhand in a certain way to be able to hit the ball right. If you master that movement, you already know how to do it, so you already know how to play it. But it's not just for a sport like that, it is for many things in life. Anything that requires a special, kind of movement or motion can be mastered with practice, obviously, but a lot of practice for that motion. But it really helps to get better at it if you stop and you let your body do the motion as it does it naturally. And more than likely, that's the way to do it. And that's what you need to practice. But sometimes when we're beginners, we want to think that the motion is done in a certain way and we want to force that way or that motion. And that's not the way to learn or to get better. The way to learn is to understand first what is the body's natural motion to be able to do that well. And when you understand how the body does it well naturally, you understand what is the motion that you need to get better at. So I say this out of personal experience, by the way, especially with sports, that kind of thing. Okay, so 12, 383. 383. Okay, so just because a man can think like an angel doesn't mean he's not also ready to drive a spear through your heart. Looks, this is what I wrote, by the way. Looks and many other positives don't have anything to do with whether someone will treat you well or not, with whether or with whether they will love you or not. What truly decides is the personal decision that they make about you, and that is not necessarily influenced by an action that you made. Not necessarily. Maybe they just saw you and they decided that you are this way, or he is that way, or she is that way, and they made their decision and they act based on that. So maybe it wasn't something you did. It's basically a choice that they make on their own. So psychologically, when we see someone beautiful, we automatically think, oh, they are more likely to be nice, or they're nice, oh, they are more likely to be good, or simply put, they are good, and we don't even know them. We don't even know them. That's the way it is, psychologically. So the reality is that the behavior of a person towards you is decided by them. You may think that it is decided by you, but they are the ones that make the decision. So, and it has more to do with their choice than with how they look, or even with whether they are good or bad or any of that. They can be a very nice person, but if the only thing they have said about you is something that they didn't like, they may not treat you nicely, even if they truly are a nice person. So it's basically, you need to understand that the choice that someone makes about you is something that reflects more about them and who they are than about you, and it also reflects a lot more about how they think, which in my opinion is who we truly are. How we think is who we truly are, than their looks or their hobbies or anything like that. So pay good attention. If you think that you're doing things correctly, if you think that nothing is wrong, and there's someone that is presenting a problem, pay attention to how that person thinks. That's more than likely the real problem, the way of thinking. So yeah, that's pretty much what I thought when I read this fragment that I marked there. Okay, so let's go to the next one, which is page 395. 395. So, I see. So this one is more for authors, or people that write, people like myself, pretty much. This is what the author wrote in the book, but I'm going to tell you something based on my experience from the other story that I came up with. So there are levels of existence, the big man continued, levels of power. El Hijo and I were of the great powers and lived in a place that you might call paradise, but even there things are much as they are among humans. And then there's another paragraph later down the page. I mean that even in that realm, pride, anger, jealousy, desire, and ambition all exist. A little more controlled, perhaps, a little more refined, but ever ready to erupt and to disrupt. This is the same, I already mentioned this idea, but when I came up with a very similar idea to this, basically the fact that there are different levels of existence and that there are different beings at each of the levels of existence. Like, for example, in our level, there are humans, us. In a much lower level, there is bacteria, and those are also living beings. But there could also be a much higher level above us, like, for example, outside the universe. And you never know, there may be animals that we cannot even imagine at that level. So this idea is something that I came up with a very long time ago when I was thinking of some of my stories. I did an article and a video about this. The article and the video, they are named The Dimensions of Existence. You can check it here on YouTube in my channel. You can look for the article on my website, The Dimensions of Existence. But it is the same idea as what the author did here in this book. He calls it levels of existence. I call it dimensions of existence. Obviously, we don't know each other. I'm pretty sure that we didn't get this idea from the same place. We got it from ourselves. And I'm pretty sure that there are many other creative people or writers or philosophers or whatever that have come up with this idea before. So it is an interesting idea that keeps on repeating itself in the minds of many different people. Not to brag or anything, because I hate bragging, but I don't have any way to explain this. In the minds of many smart people, so I'm not saying I am smart, I think I'm just okay, but I do realize that this idea has been coming up in the minds of many smart people for centuries. It's not anything new. And I think this, you never know, this could be a signal. If so many people come to the conclusion that there are different levels of existence and there has to be something else and someone else at another higher level, then it makes sense to think that it could be a sign that something like that is true, even though we don't know. We simply don't have it proved yet. But it's very interesting for me to see this. People that I don't know, people that probably I would have never known, people that have a different life and background than me, and they are coming up with the same idea that for their stories, that there's very likely other levels of existence with other beings. So seeing that other people come up with ideas it's good. It's good because it makes me realize that the idea for me maybe didn't come out of nowhere. Maybe it is an idea that makes sense, and it is a good idea, especially for stories. Okay, so let's see the next one. So page 411. A need to make something new, something no one has ever seen before. You want to add to the beauty and the richness of the world with a gift, an offering that is uniquely yours. It's an act of selfishness and generosity all rolled into one. So this is what I feel, and it's pretty obvious this is what the author in the Unicorn Chronicles in book 4 felt when he wrote that paragraph, that sentence, and it is very truthful. It is very truthful. When you have some gift, and you can develop that gift in a very unique way. So for example, the gift to write a great story. The great story that you write is going to be your own. There's no way that even other people that have been writing great stories for many years are going to come up with exactly the same one that you came up with. It's impossible. They may come up with others in the same genre, even with similar, maybe a similar situation, maybe a similar character, but there's no way for two people to come up with the same thing in exactly the same way. Even in sports, you should think that most pitchers will pitch with the same motion, and if you watch baseball games, they'll have their unique way of doing it. So imagine with writing a book, there's no way that your words are going to match the same words as another person, the same ideas as another person. There's no way. So it is different, it is unique, it is your own. And if you really think that it is a very inspiring thing for you to do that, not just for you but also for other people, it's like a gift. It's a gift that you can give, and it really feels like a gift for yourself and for other people as well. Because if it is something that made you grow, there's no reason why it cannot make other people that read it or that know it grow as well. After all, it's the same ideas. So these ideas make you grow. You're giving these ideas to another person, and when they read it, they're gonna have those ideas. So it can also make them grow, just like it did it for you. And it's like an act from the author's persona. It does, like it says here, like Bruce Scoville says here. It's like an act of selfishness and generosity at the same time. Selfishness because it is your story after all. So if it is your story, obviously you want to share it because it is yours. But at the same time, it's generosity because if it is a story that gave you something great and that made you a better person and that taught you a lot and that maybe inspired you to do great things, then it has the same power to do the same thing for other people, even if they didn't come up with it. So if they come in contact with it and they read it and they know it, it can have the same effect. So it is an act of generosity as well to share that with anyone, with everyone. Okay, number 15, page 438. Okay, so I put a star there and I put there PSY, which stands for me in my acronym, I didn't say it right, in my acronyms, right? Acronyms. It stands for me for psychology. So, let's see, a star in psychology, so this should be interesting. Were it not for the fact that he would not surrender, as long as there was the slightest chance of finding his daughter, of connecting again with his wife, Ian would have been just as happy for the ground to open and swallow him. Okay, so there's a point where the character Ian Hunter is in a very difficult situation. And the only thing that kept him moving forward or trying to have a positive perspective was the fact that he thought that he had to save his wife and his daughter. If it wasn't for that, he would have most likely given up or surrendered. So, let me see what I wrote for that. So he was driven by his daughter and his wife. Yes. And this is something very interesting. People, maybe not everyone, but I'm guessing that most people, drive more self-power from other people than from themselves. The people that are capable of drawing inspiration and power and energy, whatever you want to call it, from themselves are people that definitely have what it takes to achieve great things. But even then, even those people and everybody else usually tend to get more of that energy or that drive or power, whatever you want to call it, when they are being led or inspired by others, not on their own, not by themselves. And yeah, I think that's pretty interesting, by the way. I think that's pretty interesting. Like by default, we are more powerful when we have others with us supporting us than when we are alone without any support and we have to do it alone on our own. So I think, and that's by default, doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter if you really feel pretty, not powerful, but pretty capable to do things on your own. Even a person that feels that way is going to get a boost if he or she has the support of people around him or her. So I really do think that, the few people that can summon that personal drive, even when they don't have the support of others around them, those people are capable of doing great things. And everybody else, including them, obviously it will be good if you have some support, because it will undeniably raise not your potential, but your desire to achieve that potential and your drive to do whatever it takes, and to do it no matter what it is. Okay, let's go to number 16. Number 16 must be something interesting, because I wrote a lot for that one. 447. Page 447. Despite these delvers seemingly Despite this Delver's seeming friendliness, she was not inclined to trust him too easily, nor to forgive him, whether he would have anything to do with the attack on her home or not. From her point of view, all the Delvers were equally blameworthy. This is a big deal. This is what bias is all about. So if you are in a new land, and in this new land, all the short beings there attack you, and you meet another short being in that land, guess what you're gonna think? It is going to attack as well, so you will be ready to attack back. And maybe that one is nice, maybe that one is not there to attack you, but you have only seen attacks from all of them so far. So what do? You get biased. You create a pattern. You start to think, oh, all of them are like that. Which is a problem, because the only way to tell how someone is understanding how they think and seeing the things that they do, which reveal how they think. It's not judging them based on a pattern that you have or based on bias that we all have. Everyone is biased in some way. There's no way to be completely unbiased. That doesn't work that way. We don't work that way. So let me read to you what I wrote here. So bias. Or being biased in ways that may be wrong is something that affects anyone that judges others based on a previous pattern that they know, or based on looks, for example. And an example is let's say all beautiful women do you wrong, or did you wrong in your life. So you meet another beautiful woman, and you immediately think badly of her. You think, oh, this is another beautiful one, she's going to be the same way. Even though she could be different, you don't know her, and she could be a great person. She could be a wonderful person. But you're judging based on the pattern that you have. It's something that we need to be careful about. So this problem of bias leads anyone that doesn't judge based on how the new person thinks. Most likely it leads them to think erroneously about that new person. Anyone that judges by looks or visual patterns that their experiences have given them, disregarding the mental patterns which are more important, will make that mistake. That's all there is to it. If you're judging based on bias, and you meet a new person that fits that bias but that is different from the bias, you most likely will judge them erroneously or incorrectly. And basically the way to avoid that is to be very aware, very clear, and to judge the new person not based on the other people that you knew that looked like that person, but based on what this new person is bringing to your table. How does this new person behave? How do they talk? How do they act? Who are they? What are they doing right now? You need to analyze a new person based on who they are, not based on who other people that you knew were, because they are not the same person. Even if they look like it, even if they look a little similar, it's a new person. So you need to, develop a new opinion for that person. Okay, so 17, page 453. That is a mystery that was never addressed in our training. I like this one. Whose training? I don't remember right now whose training it was, but that's even better because then I'm going to give you less spoilers here. Because this is not really about the book. This is basically my philosophical ideas that came out from this book. Or from fragments here that inspired me to think about that idea. So, okay, let me read to you what I wrote here. After I read, that is a mystery that was never addressed in our training. If you only depend on your formal trainings to solve all your problems or obstacles, You won't be able to solve all of them. You need to rely more on yourself and on being able to figure out things yourself. If you rely on other sources to give you all the keys, you're not going to get all of them. You're not going to get all the keys that you might need. However, if you can make keys yourself, you can get anywhere you want. So let's say you train for something. Let's say, for example, when I was much younger, I was 2 years in a Taekwondo class. So I trained in martial arts when I was much younger. If I only relied on that training, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. The reason why I got a little better, why I learned those things a little better, was because I trained them later on after the class by myself, with my own style, with my own way of doing it, through my own personal teaching for that and for myself. If I had, I wouldn't have developed my key to be able to learn that skill. The key wasn't what I was taught over there. That was only helpful stuff to help me develop my own key for the skill. So basically, if you're someone that completely depends, like I used to be at the beginning, that completely depends on the trainers in order to learn Taekwondo, you're gonna be very restricted, always. But if you're someone that is only there to grab what you can learn, and you depend on yourself and your own training to learn, Taekwondo or whatever it is, can be something else, you're someone that can reach a better level. You can learn it better, you can learn more, you can do better. And it is like that with any class. If you depend completely on the calculus teacher to be able to get an A in the calculus class, good luck. I hope that you have one of those incredibly rare, magnificent teachers that doesn't give you ultra hard exams either, which I doubt. If you want to get an A in the calculus class, you will need to develop your own key, not just what the instructor there is giving you. And let me tell you, that was the reason why I got an A in a calculus class. If it was only through the stuff from the instructor, I would have gotten a B, no more than that. The reason why I got an A was because I did my own study, I did my own homework, I did my stuff. I made sure that I learned it through my own ways, which were not exactly the same ways as the professor was teaching there in the class. So yes, don't be restricted by your trainers or your instructors, but do learn from them. And hopefully use what they teach you so that you can develop the best way to learn. For guess who? For you. You have to develop the best way to learn for you. Because only you can understand if you're learning it or not, if you're advancing or not. So you have to make your own keys, basically. And obviously, in the making of the key, you can have people who will help you a lot to make that key. But at the end, the one that has to finish making the key is you. And I know this from my self-experience, by the way. This is not just blah 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 here. I know this from my self-experience. Not just in academics, but also in other things like sports, for example. Okay, number 18, page 458. We are never ready, young Nansa. We simply do what we can and what we must. I love this idea. I put like 3 stars in there. We are never ready. We simply do what we can and what we must do. Let me read what I wrote here. No one is a supervised expert, and if you wait until you are, a super wise expert to do something in a field or something that you want to do, you probably won't do it, or you won't, you just won't get there, because being a super wise expert, no one is a super wise expert. That is just an idea. That is just a title, title that was given to someone. Just because they have a title doesn't mean that they are that wise, or that they are so smart or anything like that. It's just a title that was given. There's no such thing as know-it-all. There's no such thing, and or as the ultimate talents. Not really. So because of that, okay, let me finish reading this. I didn't finish reading it. So if you want to do something great, you're gonna have to do it before you become that great expert, which is just nice words to call it, but no one is truly a masterful expert. Not really. So you do what you can, and you do what you must do. So as simple as that, and you do it. And by the way, this is me adding it. This is not the book. You do it as best as you can do it. That's what happens when you see someone doing something great and something wonderful. They did the best they could for something that they wanted to do. If it is considered a work of art or not, that's up to interpretation of individual people. But regardless of whether it ends up being a work of art or not, it doesn't mean that the person was an expert. They simply knew that much and they could do that, and they did it. That's all there is to it. Okay. So yeah, it can still be great even if you're not a master at your art yet. Someone that is not necessarily considered a master at something yet is still capable of producing something amazing. It's still capable of that. It has more to do with that. And it's not just about mastery of skill or intelligence, it's also about drive. Even a gift. Some people have a gift for that activity or for that ability, so they can deliver a little bit more in that ability, even if they haven't trained it for many years yet. Okay, and we go to number 19. So 19 is on page 465. Caution is not the same thing as fear. That's a good one too. Very simple but very truthful. The greatest martial artists that I have known in person were counter-attackers. Were they counter-attackers because they were afraid of getting hit? Because they were afraid of the other guy who may come and punch them and kill them? No. They were counter-attackers not because of any fear. On the contrary, these people didn't have any fear. It was amazing. I have known people like that, by the way. And the real reason why they were counter-attackers is that they were very cautious. So they will wait for the other person to do something, and then they will react and counterattack and do whatever they were going to do based on that. And by the way, fighting that way, working that way, it takes a lot of bravery, because you're letting the other person act first, and you don't know what they're going to do. So you're confident enough in yourself to let the other person move first, because you're confident enough to say and to think and to know that you can dodge it, you can avoid it in some way, and you can still come up with something after that and do a great counter. So it's a great idea. Caution does not mean fear. If someone is cautious, it doesn't mean that he or she is afraid. In fact, it could be the opposite. It could be that they are wise, that they are smart, that they are clever, that they understand what is going to work better. And obviously that's what they're being cautious, because they know it is the smarter thing to do in that case. Okay, number 20. 477. Okay, another good idea, yes. This is not a pessimistic idea. This is actually a good idea. Nothing is unchangeable, and not everything is as it seems at first. So let me read you why I got that idea. But for all his long life, he had believed the Raken unshakable. And in the few moments since he had returned from the stone sleep, that belief had been shattered. So this guy that thought that, the world where he lived in, underground, was indestructible, came back and he saw all of it falling apart, and it was something that he obviously never expected. But the reality is that, nothing is unchangeable. Nothing is unchangeable. So, for better, for worse, for good, for bad, anything can change. And you have to be ready for the change, just in case it happens. That's the best way to deal with it, being ready for anything. So let me read to you what I wrote here for my note for that. You need to be ready for anything and everything, because anything and everything, guess what? Anything and everything can happen. And if it does happen and you're not ready, then you're out of luck. Basically, you're out of luck. But if you were ready to have but if you were ready for it, then you have a pretty good chance to succeed, no matter what. No matter what happens, because you were ready for anything and everything. Or at least for most things that you will have to handle, basically. But yeah, it's a good mindset to have. You never know, so since you never know, just be ready for anything. Page 525 for the 21st idea that I have to share. There are 24 of them, so we only have 3 more to go then. Page 525 for the 21st idea. So I got many more than 24 great ideas from this book. I got like 50. But I made a selection of the 24 that I like the most to make this video. Okay, so let's see what I got here. The word will not wait for us to work out the matters closest to our hearts. It keeps going. So yeah, basically, sometimes we have some problem or something, and that problem, that personal problem, or that personal issue that we have, whatever it is, begins to delay everything else in our lives. But the thing is that the world keeps moving. The lives of everybody else, all the people, they keep going. And if you're dealing with something, getting stuck with that something and letting it delay everything else that you have going for you, it's not going to get you anywhere. So you need to realize that, and I know this because of self-experience, but I know that this can happen to anyone. So you need to realize that when there's something that is holding you back, the world's not going to wait for you to be able to go through it or go beyond that. Obviously, most other people are not going to wait for you either. So, if there's something there in your way, some obstacle or something, don't let it be. Make sure that you take it seriously and work on removing that obstacle and, creating a new path. Getting it out of the way as fast as possible, as soon as possible. Otherwise, everything else keeps moving and running, and you get there stuck and you're left behind, basically. So this is very important, recognizing when you are in such a situation and not letting it there, not letting it be, but actually taking care of it. And that's the only way to go forward. There's no other way. So number 22. on page 529. Okay, but in this case, okay, what did I mark there? So comes with a heavy price attached. They were talking about some kind of achievement or something that someone had. Comes with a heavy price attached. Sometimes fulfilling your greatest goal or wish demands a big sacrifice. So sometimes fulfilling some big goal that you have may demand a big sacrifice out of you. It doesn't matter what the goal is. The goal can be something simple, like learning a new sport. It can be something that takes, I'm not going to say it takes more time, because there are pretty difficult sports out there that can take years to get good at them. But something that in most people's minds takes more time, graduating from college, from a difficult 4-year career. So yeah, it's if you have goals that are like those, that are very difficult, they take a very long time, you will have to make some sacrifice in order to be able to achieve them. There's just no other way around them. You have to sacrifice something if you want to achieve something of that kind. And only the ones that make the sacrifice have a chance to be in the race to achieve that goal. Don't think that because you make, it's like, which is pretty difficult, by the way. This is very difficult to accept, but it is the reality, it is the truth. Don't think that because you went through the 4 years of the university and you got that difficult degree and you learn a lot, you finish and you begin applying for jobs and you go out there and everyone is going to call you and tell you we want you. You are the one. You're the chosen one for this company, or for this job, or for this task, or for this activity, whatever it is. It doesn't work like that. So basically, making some big sacrifice that you will have to make for that big goal is just going to be enough to get you in the race among the people that are going after that big goal. And many of them are going to achieve it, but not all of them will be able to achieve it. And everyone is there with the same purpose of trying to achieve that goal. So basically, it's a pretty complex subject. It's even a whole book can be writing just about this topic, and a pretty interesting book, by the way. It's there are cases where there might be a person that may be able to achieve great things or great fame, and they didn't necessarily put in that much effort. They didn't do a huge sacrifice to be able to get there. But those are the anomalies. In most cases, the ones that get there, just to give you an example, people that get to the major leagues and become great baseball players, people that achieve things where they had a lot of competition and they still got there and still did great. Most cases of those people involve a lot of sacrifice. And it is, unfortunately, but it is that way. The sacrifice doesn't guarantee great success, but it is still a demand, a must-have, just to be able to get there. And that's just the way it is. And I think it happens for anything, for any big goal that attracts a lot of competition. So for sports, obviously it's going to happen in sports. There's a lot of competition in sports. But in many academic fields, there's also a lot of competition. So anything that is a field with a lot of competition, maybe even acting, is going to have that kind of thing, where it asks for a lot of sacrifice from the people that have the potential to achieve, but it, the sacrifice doesn't mean that the achievement is guaranteed. It just means that you're there in the, that you pass, basically. You pass so that you can get there in the race to see if you will get that big achievement, basically. But yeah, there's a lot of sacrifice in the path for people that want to achieve great things in a field where there's a lot of competition. A lot of sacrifice. It's something that only someone that is there will understand. Me telling you here is not going to make you understand what it really takes to do something great in those fields. You know, being there inside of the competition of those fields, that's truly what's going to show you what it really is and how difficult it really is. And we go to number 23, page 601. Oh, that's almost at the end. 601. Okay, so 601. So this story is about unicorns, so I put down the picture of a unicorn. I put it there in the book. I think I'm gonna, not this one, I'm keeping this copy for myself because I like the story. But I might give this as a gift to a family member later on, years later. And I'll probably grab this picture of the unicorn and put it there in her book. It's gonna be a pretty nice touch. So, okay, 601. Truly, the heart is stronger than mere blood, and love needs no such link to blossom and be true. You know, love, real love, doesn't need you to have blood ties with the other person for you to feel it. It's pretty obvious, especially with relationships. Especially with relationships, because with family members, there's obviously the blood tie, and the blood tie does affect the relationship. You know, in a good way or in a bad way, most often than not in a good way. So yeah, more frequently in a good way, I would say. But relationships, they don't have anything to do with blood ties. So and you know, if you're lucky enough to find a person that truly loves you for real, deeply and genuinely and fervently, but truly, you know, not passionately, because passion and love, I don't think they are the same thing, but genuinely, and in a very caring way. I think that caring, right, is the real synonym of real love, not passion. Passion is more of a lust, and you know, and hormones and all that. But yeah, that kind of love, the real one, the genuine one, the caring one, it can be born between people that don't have any blood tie. It can happen. It's more likely to happen between a mother and the son, or the mother and the daughter, the father and the son and the daughter. Between parents and kids, it's much more likely to happen, but there's a blood tie there. It is more rare when it happens in relationships where there is no blood tie. But it can happen, and I think those are for sure the best relationships. So, and we go to the last one. I hope you have enjoyed this so far. I do enjoy it. It's pretty obvious. So last one is on page 608. So it's beyond the stories. It's the last one is about a character in the story. So for those of you that read it, you're gonna be able to see what I meant. So number 24, the last one, page 608. Among the characters, the protagonist, Kara, she's the only being in who the bloodlines of Hunter and Unicorn are merged. She's the only one in the story with those characteristics. So, and what I think, based on my experience, is that those kind of people that have a unique perspective because of their unique background or their unique life experience. They are the kind of people that can have new insights. They are the kind of people in whom new insights can be born. And the reason why that happens is that they have a unique perspective. Because of this unique life experience that they have a unique way to see things. They have a unique perspective, and that is the real reason why those kind of people are more likely to come up with new ideas or to get new insights for new creative stuff or new inventions. So I honestly think that it's not necessarily about intelligence, but it's really about the fact that those people had a different perspective, perhaps a new perspective. I'm not going to say unique, because I don't think there's such thing as unique. There's always someone else that can have your same idea. So there's no such thing as unique or anything like that. But there's such a thing as a person from today or from tomorrow that can get a new perspective at that point in time. Obviously, later on, the perspective is not going to be new anymore, because someone else is going to read about it or know about it or even come up with it as well. So it's very quickly until it's not new anymore. But at that point when that happens, what makes Kara in this story that kind of person is that she has the perspective from all the paths, from the humans, from the unicorns, from the hunters. She even has like mixed bloodlines, with one from here and one from there, her mother and her father. So the people that have those kinds of situation or perspective or personal experience in their life, I think, just like it happens at the very end of the story, that they are the ones that can bring in something new at the end, some new way to fix things, some new way to do things, something basically not unique but new and useful for sure. So that's it. This is all I got after reading this book. That's all I got from a philosophical perspective. All the ideas I got, and all the ideas that I either remembered or learned, because I thought about it when I read it here. So since I thought about it, I learned something about it, man. So that's it for now. I'm thinking about not taking a break, because I'm not going to take a break. I'm just going to use the time that I use for these readings and these philosophical talks that are pretty much like classes. I'm going to use this time instead for writing, or for things for my job, or for other things that require my time. So I'm going to take a break of this. Quit is never going to happen, because this is something that I like. This is a hobby that I like, so there's no such thing as quitting something that you like and that doesn't cost you anything, and that gives you joy, something that you like doing. So I will take a break, maybe for this year, 2018, and I will just use my time not in philosophical talks or in reading more books like this, which I already have. I have like a list between 10 and 20 books that I would like to read, and I will read them eventually, that's for sure. And I will obviously come up with ideas from then, and I might discuss it at that point. But for now, I'm gonna focus on Project H, writing Project H, and I will see. There are other stories that I can write as well, so I'm gonna focus on that and on other things from my personal life as well, which demand my time right now. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this talk, because it's gonna be a while. I will give more talks like this, but they're not gonna be about a book that I read. They will just be about the new idea that I got. So I hope that you learned something from this, just like I did.